guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Heather. I'm really excited today to bring you some content about how you can improve your personal finances. We are going to talk about how you can stop living paycheck to paycheck, and not just sometime in the future. You can stop living paycheck to paycheck today. That's right. If you implement some of these tips that I'm about to share with you, you can completely change your future. You can completely change your financial outlook. And I know that because I did it. And if I can do it, you can certainly do it too. So if this video is helpful in any way, please like, please subscribe, and also leave me a comment below if you would like to see other content about personal finances. And if you want to give me an idea or a topic that you want me to cover, I'd be happy to do that for you. So let's just jump right into it. The very first thing you need to consider when you're looking at how you're going to get out of living paycheck to paycheck is your income. And I want you to know exactly to the penny how much you are bringing in every single month. Now, some of you may be salary, and that's easy to do. And some of you may be living on commission, or you're a freelancer, and that's a little harder. If you are living off commission and your income seems to fluctuate, this is what I want you to look at. I want you to look at the last 18 months, everything you've brought in, and that could be random side hustles as well, all sources of income. Look at that. And then get the average, again, over the last 18 months. And then whatever that average is, make that your monthly budget. And if you are salary, make sure that what you see as, okay, this is maybe my $60,000 salary every year, is adding up to that monthly breakdown. And I'm actually surprised by how many people don't actually pay attention to this, but if you're making $60,000 a year, again, you can live in different spots around the country, but you should be bringing in more than, $3,000 a month. So take a hard look at how much you're bringing in every single month. And if something's not adding up right, look at how much you're having withheld, okay? I don't want you to get a large refund from the IRS every year. You should actually have a goal to get as little of a refund as possible without owing the government money. That should be your goal. And why do I say that? Because you're lending the government money interest-free. Interest-free. Who does that? Nobody gives you money interest-free, right? I'm pretty sure your mortgage and your car loan and whatever else you have are not interest-free. So take a hard look at that. If you're getting $7,000 back in a year, there's a big problem, and you're having way too much taken out of your taxes, okay? So take a hard look at that as well, and know your income. So once you know how much you should be bringing in every single month, and again, to the penny, ideally, I want you to make a budget. I know, budget is one of those words where people just hear negativity, they hear restrictions, they hear no fun, they hear limitation, but honestly, successful people do this. They have a plan and then they follow through. And that's what a budget is. And at the cornerstone of your finances, you should have a budget. That is going to tell you what is coming in and what is going out. There are tons of apps out there. If you're really into just having something quick and easy, you can make that really simple on your phone. There are even apps that will connect to your bank account. And so they will tell your budget, oh, we just had a withdrawal over here for groceries. And it really is straightforward. So you can make this as hard as you want or as easy as you want. But again, getting on a written plan and then tracking it, that is the most important part. So don't just make a plan, stick to it and track, okay? So that follow through is extremely valuable at the end of the day. You want to know what's going in and also what is going out. So once you have your budget, the other thing you need to really look at is where it's all going. So the third thing I would say is cut out the fat. Now, cutting out the fat, that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, but I would say start with the things you just want and you don't need. So that being like subscriptions, convenience items. Maybe you have a gym membership and you haven't been to the gym in 2 months. You should probably cut that out. Maybe you have 4 TV subscriptions. Do you need 4 TV subscriptions? I suggest picking up a good book instead. So take a hard look at what you're spending and where it's going, and then trim those pieces out. Now, after you do all of that and you're saying to yourself, well, I'm still negative. really have a hard look at some of those areas where you can make really big wins. So for example, housing. If you're spending $1,600 a month on housing, what can you do to improve that? Can you possibly move to a different location where maybe you only spend $1,000, $1,200? Can you take on a roommate? You know, what can you do in some of those areas that you can see significant gains rather quickly? So take a hard look at that, but again, cutting out the fat. And this is, in my mind, a whole separate tip, but it goes with cutting out the fat, but I do need to call it out specifically. And that is eating out. I love eating out, okay? I'm not a material person. I would rather spend my money on experiences and good food. That's just who I am. I don't care to have 12,000 shoes or, you know, a bunch of gadgets. That's just not me. But if you're like the majority of people, you're eating out 4 to 5 times in a week. In a week. And the average American is spending $12.75 per meal. Per meal. I mean, I can go tons of places and not spend that kind of money, but I get it. They're taking an average and they're looking at, you know, eating out at nicer places, and they're talking about going through the drive-thru at McDonald's as well. But now factor in that maybe you have a family and maybe you're a family of 4. If you go out just once a week, you're spending $51 just for that convenience. And I do call it a convenience because at the end of the day, you're paying for someone to bring you food and for you to not have to clean it up. And again, I love eating out, probably for half of that right there. So take a hard look at how much you're spending when it comes to eating out. And I know this is going to be a sacrifice, but I would suggest going a month without eating out. It sounds nearly impossible, and for some of you, it's going to be a real struggle, but when we were getting out of debt, that's the first thing that we cut. We were like, okay, no eating out. It's off the table. And that was really hard at first, but you realize that it's not a necessity. And if you do want to improve your situation, you have to make some sacrifices today so that tomorrow is going to be better. And I promise it will get better with time. So stop eating out. And now the next thing I want to say, have a rainy day fund. This is going to give you margin. So right now, if you're paycheck to paycheck, you are literally waiting for the next one to hit so you can probably pay your bills. You don't want that to be the case. And if you want to improve that, you need to start saving money so that when life happens, because life will happen, you have money set aside so that you're no longer backtracking. So I would say start with something really small, something basic, maybe $500 to $1,000 squirreled away so that when life happens, you have something there. You have some sort of cushion. And that's going to give you margin. And at the end of the day, the more margin you have in your life, the more opportunity you have, the more choices you have. Okay, so take a hard look at that. Start saving. I would say if you're negative every month, the money that you're now going to save because you're not eating out and you're not doing any of this, whatever's left over, put that away and have that emergency fund. Again, ideally between $500 to $1,000. It's not perfect, and I definitely suggest that you beef that up when it's all said and done. But for right now, get to that point. So that leads me to my next point, which is get out of debt. Get rid of it. This is a real problem in our society. We seem to love debt. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what a credit score is. It's a I really like debt score. So get out of debt. Now, you may have tons of debt, and that may actually be keeping you in this very situation. I mean, if you're making $100,000 a year, but you're spending $500 on a car loan, and you're spending $350 on a student loan over here, and you've got a mortgage of $2,500 over here, like, you can see just how quickly all of that money is going out the door and just going to banks, okay? Banks have plenty of money, okay? That's why they have huge towers, okay? That's why Bank of America has got skyscrapers everywhere. You don't need to be giving them your hard-earned money anymore. So make a plan to get out of debt. And it's going to be tough at first, especially if you have, $30, $50, $60,000 of debt, but let's say you only have a little bit of consumer debt. And maybe it's only $5,000 because you have this one credit card hanging out that you're like, oh, well, I just haven't really gotten to it yet. Or maybe you have a little bit left on your car loan. If you have the money sitting in your bank account right now, pay it off. Like, don't let it hang out anymore. First of all, don't believe the myth that you need some fantastic 800 credit score to buy a house or something like that, because that's definitely not true. I mean, how did people do it back in the day before credit cards existed? I don't know, you tell me, right? They did something called manual underwriting, okay? And they still do it today, and they can do it. You don't need a credit score. That's a myth. That's something they want you to believe so that they can keep a hold of your money, your hard-earned money. Don't give it away anymore. So get out of debt and get out of debt quickly. And that's why I suggest having a small emergency fund. This is something Dave Ramsey also suggests, and I completely believe that, because that is going to motivate you to move your situation quickly, right? You want to make sure that you have a little bit of cushion, but you're not too comfortable, because when you're really comfortable, then we're just complacent and we don't seem to care anymore. And we're like, well, it's fine. I mean, yeah, I'm spending $400 on my car, but I've got $7,000 just sitting over here, so I could pay it off. No, pay it off. You don't want to spend money and just give it away anymore. That's why you're in this situation, okay? The only way to change your situation is to do something different. You want the same results, keep doing the same thing you're doing. So the next thing I'm going to say is, after you get out of debt and after you have your emergency fund, really live on less than you make, okay? This is a key regardless of where you are in life. I mean, I don't care if you're paycheck to paycheck or if you're bringing home, $500,000 a year and life is good. Like, you need to always live on less than you make, because you should not zero out every single month. So for us, we live on 2/3 of our income. The other third, we either save it or we give it away. And that's what you want. You want to be in that position, right? You want to be in a position to have savings for retirement, or for maybe your kids' college, or maybe you just want to have some money so that you can give it away to maybe a really awesome charity that you believe in. Whatever the case is, you want options for yourself. And right now, you have very limited options because you're living paycheck to paycheck. So live on less than you make. And the other thing I want to say to that is, that's a lifestyle choice. And I think that's also a situation where we're trying to just, keep up with the Joneses. Don't do that. You're going to be in this endless spiral of trying to be just like the guy you see on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever. That's their life. Let them live it how they want. But at the end of the day, you're the only person that's accountable for how you spend your money. So just know that now. If you want to be like the Joneses are broke. That's just the reality, okay? They are broke. They just look good in pictures, but they have car loans. They have tons of money dumped into their mortgage. They have student loans. They have tons of debt, okay? Don't be like the Joneses. Be yourself and just live, okay? And that's what getting out of debt does. It gives you options so you can live however you want. And my last tip, if you are struggling with living paycheck to paycheck, this one's going to sound absolutely ridiculous, and you're like, duh. And that is, increase your income. I know, like I said, a novel concept here. But what I mean by that is, you don't have to necessarily go and find a second job. Now, I would suggest, if you really are struggling, looking at some temporary side hustles or a part-time job somewhere, because it is do or die, and you should not be in this situation forever. So I'm a big fan of taking on some temporary work so that, again, you build some margin in your life. But if that's not maybe a reality for you, maybe you have kids and you have other responsibilities at home, and you have young children especially, you don't want to miss out on life in general, I would say go to your employer and negotiate. Now, you may not get, a raise on paper, but here's something that you can do. When you go in and you negotiate and you talk about, I would like an increase in pay because I've done my research and I've looked at, comparable positions with this amount of time and seat in this industry for this area, and I should be making, X, whatever that is. Also be willing to negotiate your benefits. And I mean stuff that's not on paper. So maybe they don't give you the raise you're looking for, but maybe you can say to them, well, can I do my work part-time remotely? And what that does is it actually does pay you back, because you're not spending the money now on maybe the commute, whether you're in a really large metropolitan area or whether you have a car. And it also saves you time, which I believe time is of extreme value, because now you're not spending that time to and from every day. And so if you have a car, for example, a lot of times your insurance company will give you discounts if you only drive a certain amount, if you only go a certain amount of miles every year. So if you're really close to your work, you usually get a pretty good discount, right? Well, if you're driving even less than that, you can usually get some significant cuts just there. So take a hard look at your income, take a hard look at a budget, know what you're spending every single month, know exactly where that money is going, and then also cut out the fat, cut out eating out, cut out those convenience items, cut out just extras, things you just don't need. And remember, this is only temporary. It's not a permanent situation. You can do this, okay? There are some sacrifices along the way. It's just what it is. That's life for you, right? So after you make those cuts, get out of debt and do it quickly. The faster you can do that, the better your financial situation is going to be. And then lastly, try to increase your income. And again, there are some really easy ways you can do that without getting a raise on paper. So I really hope this video was helpful for all of you. If it was in any way, again, please like, please subscribe, and share. Share with a friend who maybe is going through a tough time right now, and give this video to them as a blessing. So thank you so much, and I really look forward to seeing you on the next video.